Trial part 29, defence cross.
Mr. Logan.
Yeah.
Detective.
Need to brush up on your legal objections. Argumentative defences, arguing with witness or asking questions for effect alone. You expect us to believe this? Asked and answered when same question is posed twice. Hearsay, relying on the testimony of someone other than the witness, badgering, insulting the witness directly.
I bet you got a nice fat promotion when I got pinched, didn't you?
That's not the way it works.
You put the blame on me because you couldn't solve your case and you thought you were going to get fired.
No.
Objection.
Arson argumentative.
Argumentative.
Overruled.
You're trying to ruin my life to protect a bunch of whores.
What?
Objection, Your Honor.
Arson
The
answered.
question has been asked and answered.
Objection overruled.
If I may, Your Honor, I would like to continue the cross-examination.
Keep it on point, Mr. Gondapur.
I am most curious, Detective Logan. How did you form your opinion on how my landscaper and I collaborated in the murders of these women?
I've been a detective for over 25 years, mostly in homicide.
Are you a psychologist?
No.
Criminal profiler? Any professional training on the psychology of serial killers?
No.
Well, your opinion can hardly be valid, can it? What physical evidence did you find to suggest that either myself or my co-defendant are guilty of such ghastly crimes as the one suspected of the so-called Massapequa Mangler?
Burlap fibers found in Wendy Crane's hair matched that found in Patty Jackson's van and in your garden shed. Probably most telling was a cutting tool we found in the same shed with Wendy Crane's blood on it. There was also duct tape and zip ties found in the van and the shed that were an exact match for ones found on other victims.
Anything in my home?
Not that I'm aware.
So you found evidence in Mr. Jackson's van, evidence in my garden shed which Mr. Jackson had access to.
That's right.
None of my DNA nor hair samples, nor fingerprints found on any of the victims.
No. You were very careful in that regard.
Just one more question, Detective Logan. As a hedge fund manager, I made $25 million last year alone in salary and bonuses.
That's nice.
Do I sound like the type of person who does his own gardening?
I seem to be losing this. What do I do? Yes or no?
No further questions,
No!
Your Honor.
Oh, no.
Gentlemen, to what do we owe the pleasure?
We've come to make you an offer, Mr. Cutter. One I think you'll find quite generous given the circumstances. What if Mr. Jackson were prepared to admit to being the Massapequa Mangler?
Just Mr. Jackson?
Yeah.
Manslaughter 2 for
Knew
my
he was gonna
co-defendant.
throw it on
10
him.
years, eligible for parole in 5.
What?
And you walk away with what? A ticket for littering?
Aiding and abetting. 5 years in a minimum security prison where I am allowed to continue to manage investment funds for clients.
What?
Is this a joke?
Oh. No deal.
No deal, Mr. Gondapur. Take my advice and spend some of that money of yours on a lawyer. See you in court.
Wow. Trial part 47, Superior Court. Oh dear. Kapoor and Jackson will no doubt commit a number of legal errors. Be prepared to object. No expert knowledge is when a witness addresses a subject has no expertise in, such as criminology or psychology. You may use asked and answered when the defence is repeating a question merely for dramatic effect.
Mr. Jackson, when did you begin working on my estate in Brookville?
About 9 months ago.
Around the time the first of the Mangler's victims was found.
What? Yeah, I guess.
Earlier, Detective Logan speculated that we formed a dominant submissive pairing, with you as the submissive. Could he be correct?
Oh, I don't know.
Objection.
I think I'm going to lose this. No expert knowledge?
Your Honor, the witness has no expert knowledge of the subject.
Sustained. Direct your questions elsewhere, Mr. Gondapur.
No way. I make my own decisions.
Mr. Jackson,
But
the
he doesn't
objection
know
was
that.
sustained. If you don't know what that means, then I suggest we take a recess so your lawyer can explain it to you.
But I'm my lawyer.
Yep.
The police found physical evidence relating to the murders inside your work van, did they not?
Yeah, but that van belongs to the landscaping company.
Did anyone else have access to it?
Sometimes. Sometimes I'd leave it at the nursery. The other guys could have used it.
So many people with so much access to so much evidence. It would be very hard to say definitively who did what, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
That would be leading.
Your Honor, defense is leading the witness.
Find a new line of questioning, Mr. Ganapur.
The police found some burlap sacks in my garden shed. Fibers from the burlap matched ones found in Wendy Crane's hair. Do you have any idea how those fibers got on the victim?
No idea.
What were they for, those sacks of yours?
I bought some pesticide called atrazine. I have a license to buy it.
And you really have no idea how fibers from those sacks got on poor Miss Crane?
Objection, Your Honor.
Asked and answered.
The question has been asked and answered.
Sustained. Move on, Mr. Ganapur.
Well, what are you asking me that for?
What about the cutting tool, Patrick? The one found in the shed. It had Wendy Crane's blood on it.
I don't know. Maybe someone was doing stuff in the shed, like at night. I didn't see it, or I would have called the police.
You have to admit it is damning evidence against the two of us, really. I mean, it was my shed.
Guess so.
You guess so. How did a bloody knife get into my shed without you noticing a thing?
I don't know.
Objection, Your Honor.
I think he's already asked it, hasn't he?
The question has been asked and answered.
Overruled.
Oh no. They're gonna walk, aren't they? Oh. Murder and misogyny. Garden shed. Blood in the van.
Blood taken from your van was found to contain Wendy Crane's DNA. How did it get there?
I don't know.
Was Wendy Crane ever in your van?
No.
Well, it doesn't sound like he's lying. But she said, was she in the van?
Well, I'm confused, Mr. Jackson. Because according to the statement you made to detectives, you claim to have let Wendy Crane in your van to solicit her services as a prostitute.
That's not true. They made me say that.
Did they put her blood in your van too?
I don't know how it got there, but it wasn't me.
The cutting tool we found in the garden shed, the one with Wendy Crane's blood on it? I suppose you don't know how that got there either.
Nope.
What about the fibers found in Wendy Crane's hair? The ones from the burlap sacks of atrazine in the shed. Ones you put there.
I didn't bring anyone back there, okay? It could have been him, you know.
Can you prove that it was not him? No. Why not? Since Gumbo had regular access to the shed, it can't be conclusively ruled out because Gumbo has an alibi for the night. Because Gumbo never confessed. Because Gumbo said he never went in the shed ever. It can't be completely ruled out. Excellent. They're nearly walking, look. Let's go with the partnership.
Let's see if I can paint an accurate picture of what happened to these women.
You do what you want. I'm through talking.
You pick a girl, you put them at ease, you give them some crystal meth to disorient them.
I don't give those chicks nothing. They bring it if they want it.
Ooh. Well, yeah, because it was found in his van. It's found in the apartment. No, it's found in the jury box.
Exhibit A. One jewelry box of your own design, found in the van you drove, with crystal meth inside a hidden compartment. You're quite the carpenter, Mr. Jackson.
Fine, yeah, it's mine. That doesn't prove I'm a killer.
Your co-counsel has been strangely quiet, Patty. Even you have to know he could have objected a dozen times to what I've had to say so far.
Why aren't you trying to stop her? She's badgering me, right?
Mr. Jackson, what will happen to you if you take the fall for the murders of these 8 women?
I guess Mr. Gondapur would go free.
Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Jackson doesn't know that. It's conjecture.
Sustained.
So you found your voice after all, counsel. No more questions, Your Honor.
Oh no.
So what do you want, Mr. Jackson?
I want a deal.
Oh? What's your lawyer think?
Gondapur thinks I'm an idiot, but I know when I'm being set up.
You're a little late to that party, but I guess you got there. What are you offering?
Say I know what happened to those girls. Say I was there. Say maybe I had something to do with it, but I didn't kill them.
That might be worth something.
Accessory after the fact? That's 7 years no parole, but it's got to be concurrent with the time I got break-in parole.
Concurrent?
Yeah, sometimes you can learn useful stuff in prison.
I'll go for that one.
12 years. You can do the 5 you have
We need
coming
him to
concurrently.
talk.
No parole.
Definitely
You can't
need
get
him to
Gondapur
talk.
without me. 10 years. I do the 5 I got coming concurrently.
Yes, we need him to talk.
Okay, let's hear it.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I realize this is unusual, but it's important that you know Mr. Jackson has agreed to plead guilty to the charges against him. This means Mr. Jackson and Mr. Gondapur are no longer co-defendants. Mr. Jackson now testifies for the people. The prosecution may proceed.
Right, let's go with the relationship.
Mr. Jackson, how did you and Mr. Gondapur first get to know each other?
I started getting the grounds around his house ready for spring. I told him I was on parole. He asked what for. I told him.
For rape, correct?
Yeah, I thought for sure he'd tell my boss not to let me come back, but he seemed really interested. Kept asking me questions about it.
Yes. Let's do the first victim.
Did you personally see Mr. Gondapur with any of the women he is charged with killing?
Yeah, all of them.
Tell us about the first.
It was the night we just had one girl at the house.
That was Angelica Moore, correct?
Yeah, she changed her mind, wanted to leave. Mr. Gondapur held her down while I raped her. When I was done, well...
Keep quiet!
Last chance, Mr. Gondapur. Remain silent or I'll have you removed.
Gondapur goes, "We better make sure she doesn't say anything to anybody."
What did he mean?
I go back to jail, so he killed her.
Wow. Let's stick to the Wendy one.
What happened with Wendy Crane?
I get her into the van, give her a little meth. She said she was up for whatever, so I pulled out my knife to tie her up. She starts freaking out. She's hitting me.
Did they find a knife in the shed? I
Then
did
what?
find a knife
She
in the
jumps
shed.
out of the van, screaming her head off. I just kind of put my hands around her throat, just to shut her up, you know? But before I knew, she ain't screaming anymore.
Alright, let's go to the hookers.
Did you ever bring prostitutes to Mr. Gondapur's home at his request?
Yeah, a lot of them.
That is a lie!
Mr. Gondapur, sit down.
Go on, Mr. Jackson.
First, he had me bring back hookers to the house 2 at a time. We'd party together, do some ice, that's crystal meth. At least I would, and the girls would.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness's story is complete fabrication.
Ugh. Is it a complete fabrication? No. What part is proven by evidence? The girls arrived at a time. Blood from Wendy Crane was found on a cutting tool in the shed. Tested positive for meth. Grandpa had a bench warrant for blood on the cutting tool. So it's not a knife, it's a cutting tool. So I got the one
Overruled.
before.
You'll have your chance to cross, Mr. Gondapur.
Right, let's do the pattern.
What became your pattern?
I'd go and find girls, bring them back. I took them to the garden shed, we'd party. Then Mr. Gondapur would kill them, strangle them.
Was Paddy's description match the MO? I'm afraid it does. Who confirmed this to be the Mangler's MO? Pete Shanahan, Mike Logan, Van Buren, Benson. Oh, what did Van Buren say? I'll go with Logan because he spoke a lot about it. Yeah.
How many did he kill, Patty?
I don't know. 6, 7? That's what the newspaper said. I tried to forget him. I want the jury to know.
Wait a
I'm
minute, if
really
you were
sorry
there,
about how
you'd
this all
know.
happened. I never would have done this if it wasn't for him.
I object to this character assassination.
Mr. Cutter, please instruct your witness to limit testimony to the question asked.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Aha. Good one to end on. Go on, you got to ask some questions now. Yes or no? For this testimony, the jury is on the fence. Oh no!
I demand a mistrial.
Motion denied. You asked for this circus, Mr. Gondapur. I'm going to see it through to the end. We'll let a higher court decide if justice was served.
Very well. I can prove this man acted alone. The evidence is at his apartment. I demand we send detectives to search it again.
How does he know?
Objection, Your Honor. The defense is stalling for time. Patty Jackson's apartment has already been thoroughly searched by investigators who found nothing.
Thoroughly, huh? Have you checked in the walls, in the crawl space, under his bed?
Court is recessed for the day. Counselors, I want to see you in my chambers.
Cannot believe the judge approved Gondapur's request.
Nothing surprises me with this trial. Any clue from Jackson on what this evidence could be?
None. He won't talk.
I don't like it.
Gandapur knows that any evidence
Haven't
we
found the
find has to
trophies
be
yet.
turned over to him. It's what he's counting on. But why?
Whatever it is must implicate Jackson as being the real ringleader.
Wait a minute. The police never found the souvenirs taken from the victims. The locks of hair that were missing.
That was Jackson's MO when he committed those rapes in Washington Heights. If the search reveals trophies like that in his apartment, it would go a long way to convince a jury that Jackson was responsible for the murders, not Gondapur.
Get this. When detectives searched Jackson's van, they found a small jewelry box with a false bottom. Patty was a carpenter. He used the jewelry box to hide the crystal meth he used to disorient his victims. I'm willing to bet that's what Gandapur wants us to find in Jackson's apartment.
He knows it's there, but he wants us to find it. That gives him total deniability while nailing Jackson to the wall.
Call Logan. He might be able to help us thread a pretty small loophole here. I'm going to take a walk. From this point on, keep me out of the loop.
Hey, Abby. It's Mike Logan. I found something.
Don't tell me what it is.
Don't worry, I know the rules. I'll file my report after you guys conduct your own search. Just, tell the uniforms not to shake the present too hard. Might break what's inside.
Thanks, Mike. You're a lifesaver.
Why don't you thank me with dinner?
Remember, this isn't gonna work unless he gets good and angry.
Don't worry. I have a special talent when it comes to infuriating people. Mr. Gondapur, you stated at the close of trial yesterday that investigators were to search Mr. Jackson's apartment again for evidence pertaining to this case.
Yeah,
Indeed.
They didn't find anything.
that's it.
I am well aware.
Gandapur is slippery. Try and focus on the facts of the case, names and places. Avoid more hot button issues that will allow Gandapur to distract the jury. Right. Let's
What
in
did you
the
want us to
apartment.
find in Patty Jackson's apartment, Mr. Gondapur?
What makes you think I expected you to find anything?
Did he indicate a place you wanted them to search? Specifically requested a freezer, no. Under the bed, yep. Couch, no. Didn't. Yeah, under the bed and the floorboards.
Under his bed. Yet detectives did a full sweep of the apartment and found nothing.
A chest! A small wooden chest. How could they miss it?
Yes, one wooden chest. Exhibit C, let's call it.
There! That's it! That will prove my innocence.
How did he know it was there?
What was it about Angelica Moore, Mr. Gandapur? Why is it you were so fixated on her that months after you were arrested picking her up,
what happened
you
to
sent
the
Mr.
chest?
Jackson here to kidnap her for you?
She was a woman in need who I tried to help and who took advantage. That is all. The arrest was a misunderstanding and the charges were dropped.
I had no idea. Oh no.
Misunderstanding? Are you sure? Because I have an affidavit by one Donald Deshawn, a.k.a. Bankroll, an associate of Angelica Moore's who swears under oath that Angelica changed her testimony after he received a bribe on her behalf of $1,000.
That is ridiculous. He must have me confused with someone else.
Oh yeah, another person of Arab descent in Harlem who was arrested for assaulting Angelica Moore shortly before her death.
Are you trying to get a rise out of me, Mr. Cutter?
It doesn't seem to take much, Mr. Gandapur. Mr. Gandapur, could you explain to the court how an empty wooden chest will prove you innocent?
Are you an imbecile? Give it to me! There! There, you see? He took a lock of their hair. I saw him do it to each girl. You didn't think I knew, did you? Nothing gets past me, you mongoloid.
How did he know that it was in there?
No. No, wait. I didn't mean that I'd...
No further questions, Your Honor.
No. I demand a mistrial. No.
Still on the fence. No.
The prosecution rests, Your Honor.
Mr. Gandapur,
The defense rests, Your Honor.
No.
the jury is to retire for deliberations. I'll send along jury instructions shortly. Court adjourned.
They're
Has
still
the
on
jury
fence.
reached a unanimous verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
Guilty.
Please read the verdict as it stands recorded.
In regards to Mr. Gandapur, as to counts 1 through 8, homicide in the first degree, not guilty.
Well, I could use a drink.
That was
Oh,
ugly.
no.
Jackson will serve out the rest of his sentence for violating parole. As far as Gandapur was concerned, he evaded, prevaricated, confused, distracted, and obscured the truth.
He could have a great future in politics.
We'll get another chance at David Gandapur.
Yeah? At whose expense?
Oh, no.
Is that what I think it is?
Briscoe's Little Black Book of Unsolved Cases.
How did you...
Uh-uh.
Right. I don't want to know. Hold on. Frank Vincenzo Jr. I recognize that one.
Do tell.
He was a tenant in the apartment building where that Glock 17 was found.
Got a forwarding?
According to this, he's still a tenant.
Thank God for rent control.
Oh, I hope we do better on the next one. Or should I say, I should do better on the next one. See you next time.